3, 2, 1. We're at the Korean War Museum. The Korean War Museum, or the War Museum of Korea, also known as War Memorial of Korea outside. So this is the War Museum of Korea, and outside is the memorial. And there looks like plenty to see here, and I will be walking around. Okay, this room is for the Korean War of the 1950s. This is a statue of 3 Korean army soldiers who sacrificed their own lives in 1952 when they were trapped behind enemy lines, and they sacrificed themselves so that the rest of the platoon could get away. You could see they're holding grenades and holding back the enemy. Okay, over here is a map of some of the places of warfare that happened near the 38th parallel, near Seoul, I guess. Okay, and over here is a statue of 2 Koreans. One is Lieutenant General Song, and the other one is Captain Kim. Captain Kim. Okay. Then over here we have that is the 38th parallel, that straight line, and then the triangle. That's where Panmunjom is, where the force is stalemated, and technically the Korean War is still going on. The 1953 agreement at Panmunjom is only a ceasefire. It is not a treaty. So the Korean War is still actually going on, but has been in a phased mutual stand down since 1953. Okay, now we have a statue of American GIs at what appears to be a howitzer, and they are loading up artillery. It's not a howitzer, don't blame me, I was in the Navy, so not the Army. Okay, anyways, so here are Korean Air Force operations, and they had the traditional dress for Korean pilots, and this is it's like a 50 cal, and let's see, over here, there's some medals. Woo! Okay, and again, that is the 38th parallel. Okay, let's walk over here. Okay, over here we have Navy stuff. Okay, I was in the Navy, yeah. Or we call these nickname is Cracker Jacks. It's the dress blue. That's considered blue, even it's black. Navy blue is actually black, but after a while you just accept it. Okay, here is looks like oh, this is see, they showed not just the modern but the traditional as well, so that's pretty cool. Okay, and then the next one over here is the Marines, and that's their dress uniform, and this guy's name Cho. I did serve with a Cho, but he was in the Navy. And so, funny story, on Facebook he posts his places he went to in London, and then I post them right under his post, and then he wrote back to me, I know you went to London, but this is my post, and I'm sharing, I want people to see my video, not yours. So that was kind of funny. Okay, this is the Korean National Police uniform, I guess. National Police uniform. Okay, and then over here is, okay, so these are anti-communist guerrillas. Okay, both in the Korean War and the Vietnam War, Just because you lived in the North doesn't mean you were communist, and just because you lived in the South means you were anti-communist. So in this case, these were people in the North, but they supported the South, the Southern government. Just like the opposite is the Viet Cong, which was people living in the South, but they supported the Northern Communist government in the Vietnam War. So, and this is their paperwork and medals, and looks like it's a Bushido sword, kind of like Japanese. Okay, and then over here is Korean Service Corps, the unsung heroes of. So in any war, the most important thing is supply line. Supply line. So you see, this is part of the struggle of the people who supplied. Okay, we'll be back. And in previous wars, of course, you have women participating in warfare as well, and they were mostly nurses on the battlefield and at the battalion aid stations, and these was the kind of wares they dressed. Also, there were surgeons as well. Okay, so we'll actually, these are service women, people who actually did serve as women in the Army and the Navy. Okay, so North Korea invaded South Korea on June 25th, 1950. And this is how it happened. At 4 a.m., they did a sneak attack, and within 3 days, Seoul was captured. And then they moved all the way down to the past Daegu or around Daegu to the Busan perimeter right there. And then later on, around September, MacArthur landed at Incheon, which we were there the other day. You saw the MacArthur statue in my older video. That's where MacArthur landed. And then he pushed up all the way up to the top of the Yellow River and was about to cross it. He wanted to go to Beijing and take out the communists there. And then Mao said no, and then just flooded the border with 1 million Chinese troops. And then by 1953, we have the border, which is roughly about like right there. It's a little bit different than the way it started. The North took some of this, but then the South gained some of that. And that's how we went into the ceasefire in, I think it was June of 1953. And okay, so the war until the ceasefire lasted 37 months. Okay, moving on. Okay, and here is the Busan perimeter is what they called it. It was a line that was roughly at the Nakdong River down in the south. The United States and the Korean forces were basically beaten down to almost nothing until MacArthur came in to save the day. Okay, and this is the invasion of Incheon. So, United States gathered their forces from places like Yokosuka, that's near Yokohama, and then came around California Point and invaded Incheon, and then pushed the North Koreans all the way back to the border. They were about to cross the Yalu River, but by 1951, Chinese had already invaded back, and then they did this back and forth, until 1953. Okay, so this is a map of the invasion of Incheon by MacArthur. And there we are. Okay, this is a little film of the invasion of Seoul. The invasion of Seoul, which took place only 3 days after the invasion. And Seoul was completely taken by the North within 3 days. And then The South later on took it again, and then it changed hands again. But also, the South had taken Pyongyang a few times as well. So the capital cities did change hand a number of times before this war was over. And here is a replica of the day that the Republic of Korean forces retook Seoul from the north, from the northern forces. And again, it would change hands more than once during the war. I really like this museum because there are so many wax dummies in this museum. There's some more wax museum models. Wax museum models. Okay, you can see on this map here, MacArthur landed Battle of Incheon in the late 1950s, and then this is the beat up past the 38th parallel all the way to the Yalu River almost, or actually they were about to cross the Yalu River, and then China said no, you don't get to do that. And then the Chinese and North Korean forces combined beat the Allies back to this, and then they were shifting back and forth until finally in 1953 they decided to start off about where the original line was. So the Korean War is known as the Forgotten War because it did not result in a victory for either side. Okay, October 19th, 1950, the Allied forces moved up from Incheon all the way up to Pyongyang and captured the North Korean capital, Pyongyang. Both Pyongyang and Seoul exchanged hands more than once during this Korean War. And here, backing up some of the paperwork and such. This is the original Korean flag, North Korean flag that was taken during the capture. The colors have faded. This is an example of South Korean soldiers. These are wax museum statues of them. Pretty nifty. Pretty nifty. Okay. Okay, this is a picture of actual captured North Korean uniforms at one of the famous battles called the Battle of Chosan. Battle of Chosan. Chosan. Thank you. Okay, right here is an example of some of the weapons that the Chinese communists used and gave to the North Koreans, and mainly these were of Russian design. Here is a map of the description of the guns. Okay, thank you. Okay, and if you remember the final episode of MASH, where there was captured Chinese POWs and Charles taught them how to play the music, and here it is, right there, that's them. And then before Charles had taught them the civilization of music, this is what they were doing. They were fighting against the American forces. Okay, and this is a statue commemorating the evacuation of Pyongyang, which was the northern capital of North Korea. So it is currently the capital of North Korea. And this is showing refugees fleeing to the south after the Chinese forces retook the city. Okay, here is a commemoration of one of the battles called the Battle of Yongmusen. You can see that there was a lot of back and forth fighting. The war lasted again until 1953, where they signed a ceasefire at Panmunjom, again, there has been no treaty to end this war. The Civil War is technically still going on, even though since 1953 we've been in a phased mutual stand down. I think this is about it. There might be some more downstairs. We'll see. General MacArthur receives coffins from General Collins. Okay, we found the treaty room, and this encompasses the entire timeline of the war. You have the U.S. Ambassador John Morcio, you have President Rhee, and you have General Douglas MacArthur here as the statues representing the Allied forces. And I'll just turn around briefly, show you. The rest of the room is a timeline of the entire war. A timeline of the entire war. Okay? And so there are some more silhouettes. The silhouetted people are named. Okay. So if you remember my other video for Chinatown, eventually we climbed up that big huge hill, and then we found the statue of Douglas MacArthur up top, if you remember that. And that was at Incheon, which is his famous landing site during the beginning of the Korean War.